Hello viewers of SSBC, welcome to this very special edition of the Roundtable Show. And we are pleased to be joined by Governor of Meridi State, His Excellency Africano Mande. In this very forum, we'll be looking on issues to do with development after the establishment of Meridi State as part of 28 states. We'll also be looking on some of the challenges and way forward as Governor Africano Mande is ensuring that he delivers services to the people of the state. Governor, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
To begin with, after your appointment, you had so many priorities. And then you went down to the state, you've been there for a quite long time now. Tell us if you have managed to achieve some of these priorities and what were they before?
Well, to begin with, following our appointment on the 24th of December 2015, and of course we were all tasked to go back to our states and to start establishing a system, to establish processes and to establish the government. So when I went to the state, before we established the government, I came up with about 3 priorities, which I had to sell to the government that I formed later. And those 3 priorities was, of course, security and peace. And then the second one is infrastructure and looking specifically at roads and road networks. And then the third one is production. And when I say production, it's not just agricultural production. Of course, that is the primary production, services that we have in the state, but also other production methods. So these were basically the 3. The other areas such as education and health, I do not always want to refer to them as my priorities because these are cross-cutting areas. These are the services that are expected by the people to be delivered by the government. So they are not a part of my priority because they are cross-cutting. So I had 3, security and peace and physical infrastructure, and specifically looking at roads, and then production and focusing on agriculture. So when I formed the cabinet and the government, I had to sell the priorities, the 3 priorities to them. So we debated over it and we finally passed it, and that became the priority of the government. So the 3 priorities. And since then we started implementing it. And I just want to pinpoint that of the 3 priorities, perhaps security and peace was the priority of the priorities. So we embarked on that, and I'm proud to say that of all the 3 states that emerged from the former defunct Western Equatorial State, Meridi State is relatively peaceful. And the procedure and the strategy we adopted was, 1, to start extending the amnesty of the president to the boys and girls who were at large, who had taken up arms. And we extended that, and to prove that, I had to literally pardon many people who were under detention. And we freed them. And not all of them were from Meridi State. Others were from Budwe State. Others were from Yei River State. Others were from Amadi State. So we pardoned them, and we continuously passed a signal to our boys who were at large. And that took a long time. We had to establish contacts with them and so forth. And I think by May, June, they started responding. They started responding. And I want to state that since I went to Meridi State in January to date, we have received more than probably between 400 to 500 boys and girls who came back and reported. Now, it's one thing asking these boys to report, but another thing also having something to offer to them. And I mentioned it quite clearly that, number 1, I am not well placed to start signing a peace agreement with any of the armed groups that were existing in the state, because that's not within my mandate. If anybody wants to sign an agreement, they should rather come to the center, because an agreement entails compromise and giving and stepping down. So I'm not well placed to do that. So I negotiated with these boys in good faith and told them, I've got nothing to offer to you other than peace.
The first vice president, during the induction of the SPLM, he actually called on the governors to support him in actually luring or supporting him to make sure that those who are returning back are being helped. Now that you will be going back, and as you say that some of them are still coming in, how will that change now the system, though he has appealed to you?
Yeah, I think his appeal is within the framework of the Compromise Peace Agreement, which entails that cantonment areas are supposed to be established. Now, the compromise peace agreement did not specify clearly that there was need for cantonment area, particularly in the areas of Greater Equatoria. But given the situation at hand, then there was another need that came up, that cantonment areas have to be established in those areas. Now, in the areas of the former defunct Western Equatorial State, the area earmarked for the cantonment is a place called Kidiba, which is in what I would call kind of northeast of, let me say, of Amadi State. Now, the appeal by the first vice president is in place. It is within the compromise peace agreement, and obviously we are the ones on the ground. We are the ones controlling territories. We are the ones managing territories. That means once armed groups start responding towards the call to report to the cantonment areas, we need to provide them passages. Yes. We need to facilitate them and so forth. So obviously, this is our job. It falls within the framework. But I think what is so particular about the call and the plight of the first vice president is the fact that we need to have a unified and a collective approach to this what do you call it, event. It's not about me doing it on my own without the knowledge of the next governor. Yes. in my neighborhood. So I think it's that call for a collective approach. So we need to do it as a voice, so that we also pass a message to these armed groups that indeed it's the government, not just the government at the state level, but it's also the government of the center, so that there's no disjuncture between the different levels of government. So I think it's our responsibilities. But it's not just that straightforward, because there are procedures in place, there are processes in place that we need to undertake in order to reach to that level, and which we are now working on.
Governor, you have now a full government in place, as you stated before. How are you ensuring that these people work for the benefit of the citizens or the people of Maridi State, despite of the fact that, of course, South Sudanese, somehow, somewhere, they are always fond of, not serving the citizen, but serving their own self?
Well, to begin with, okay, I am more of an institutionalist. I believe in institutions. And once you set up good institutions in place, good institution will cough out, individuals who work contrary to the processes and systems, and that is very important. Now, if you talk to some of my ministers, the state ministers and my advisors, I think some of them are grinding their teeth because they know that I'm a disciplinarian, because I tend to follow people right up to the bottom. Sometimes people tend to blame me that I don't give room for independence for them to operate. But I think at this crucial moment in time, we need to follow them closely. So I will be more than happy if there are investigative media could go to my state and try to talk to the people and try to get, and you will be able to get the clear message from them. But I'm a very disciplined. I like discipline. I always follow things quite closely, because I think at this moment in time, one, we cannot afford it. Two, we do not have the luxury of time. Three, the expectation of our people has been very high, and over the years we have let our people down. So we cannot make.
So are you optimistic that your government is doing enough to the people of Maridi?
Well, to begin with, as a government, we can never meet the demands and the needs of the people 100%. But I'm very optimistic that I've not seen complaints. And as I said, compared to the other states, the other two states that came out from Western Equatorial State, I think Maridi State needs to be appreciated. Today, Maridi State is becoming overcrowded, because we have people coming from Budwe State. They prefer settling in Maridi. We have people coming from Yei River State. We have people coming from Amadi State. We have people even coming from Rumbek, from the adjacent areas. And I think this tells us the type of state we actually have. And not only the issue of security, but also the issue of production. We know people have been coming from the adjacent states buying food from Maridi. And in order to reach that level of production and to be able to reap the fruit of that production, we have to be exemplary. That's why over the years, over the month, people have seen me practically digging in my field, so that I can have my own tomatoes, I can have my own vegetable, I can have my own maize and so forth, and we eat from what we produce today in Maridi.
Viewers of SSBC, let's have this short break and we will be coming back. Please stay tuned.
Roundtable Show is a platform where we discuss topical issues that affect the nation. We tackle many issues including economics, politics, peace and reconciliation, development, humanitarian support, education, among others.
Join me every Thursday from 8:30 p.m. And if you miss the Thursday edition, the repeat will be on Saturday from 12:30 p.m. Please don't miss the Roundtable Show, the voice for the voiceless.
Welcome back from that short break. You're still watching this exclusive interview of the Roundtable Show, and we are pleased and happy to be joined by Governor of Meridi State. Governor, let's get back to this point that you have just mentioned. Let's talk about agriculture. President of the Republic, His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, has brought in 1,000 tractors, and I believe out of that your state received 20.
Right.
Tell us about these tractors. How have your people utilized them?
Of course, the tractors went timely, and we received our 20 tractors, and we ensured that they are shipped to Meridi. And it was a big ceremony when they arrived in Meridi, and we assembled everybody at the ground, and to also ensure that we count the tractors because it's a part of accountability. Yes. So 20 tractors reported in Meridi. But I tasked the Minister of Agriculture and the Director General, the ministry, to come up with plans and strategy of how these tractors can be distributed. So I said, let us go ahead and establish county agricultural departments, establish the health agricultural department, the education, the health department and the education department within those counties. And once those infrastructures are in place, then we can appoint a commissioner that will have a purpose of existence within the counties. So given those structures, we use them to distribute the tractors across the board. So that's exactly what we did. And there are also farmers associations. There are also institutions such as the churches. We categorize them as a unit, and we also earmark tractors for them. But it's not just one thing. It's one thing having tractors, but it's also another thing ensuring that these tractors are managed, they are operated, and they are also used to till the ground. Yes. Now, you know, Meridi State is a territory that has got thick vegetation, and tractors cannot operate in this kind of vegetation. So we started encouraging our farmers to uproot trees so that they are able to have designated farmlands, and the tractors can be used. The ones that are ready, of course, the tractors were used. And I think the harvest this time, you know, Meridi has 2 farming seasons. So this particular season, I think one of the challenges we're going to face is storage, because the military has also cultivated significantly, schools, you know, and individuals, you know. So I think the tractors have been put to use, but there have been challenges with that because it uses fuel, you know. So what we did, we decided to also create a situation whereby farmers utilize the tractors using subsidized cost. Yes. If ordinary businessmen and women who have tractors, if they charge, for example, 700 South Sudanese pounds per Fedan, which is 70 by 60, we said, okay, let our ministry charge 300 to 400 pounds, you know. So the demand has been so huge that we cannot even meet timely. Farmers literally line up trying to get the tractors. Yes. So it is a situation that is very encouraging, but also challenging because it requires fuel, it requires the management of those tractors and so forth, which I think we are doing relatively well. And also the Ministry of Agriculture also has its own farm. There's been a location in a place called Kuanga. It used to be in the old Sudan, run by PDU. You know, so the Ministry of Agriculture has revitalized those projects, and today we have got huge hectares of land that has been cultivated. You know, oranges, pineapple, and the usual maize, and so forth. So the government also has to demonstrate that we're producing, because these are definitely going to become research stations. These are going to become demonstration plots for other citizens to learn from. But we have also encouraged schools. So we have earmarked agricultural land and farmland to schools, so that schools should also produce their own food. I produce my own tomatoes, I produce my own maize, I produce my own granite, my own vegetables. So I don't buy those things from the market, so we produce. Even the security guards that stay with me, we have allocated farmlands to them. So I think the vision of food security will be realized to a large extent, but I think I need to take you to another level also, because food security is not about production. Yes. Food security, it's about having enough to feed the population, even in a situation of crisis where, for example, there's drought or the production has not been met adequately. So we're working on that. The other interesting thing is I came up with a model which I pushed, and I said it has to be passed within the Council of Ministers, and that has been passed, is the idea of creating agricultural villages. Okay. So the surveyors are already working on that. We want to demarcate areas whereby the plots for residents should be bigger than the normal one. For example, we are asking for 50 by 100. The idea is the front part will be residents, but the behind part of the plot, every family has to have at least mango trees, oranges, chicken, and goats. And to me, food security is also about nutrition. It's about the nutritional services that are given to the people. So we are demarcating these agricultural villages, and we hope that once it is launched, then the duty of the extension workers will be to move from one household to the other with a checklist. Okay. Every house, do you have mango trees? Tick. Do you have chicken? Tick. Do you have eggs? Tick. Do you have goats? Tick. Do you have vegetables? And so forth. So that children, when they wake up in the morning, their parents can just go behind the household, behind the compound, and guarantee eggs and chicken and vegetables for them. So this is also a model that we want to explore.
Great idea. How soon is it going to be implemented?
Well, we were waiting for the dry season so that the demarcation is done. The areas have already been earmarked. We are trying to create about 4 what we call satellite agricultural villages around Meridi town, and then that will be replicated to the other counties. So this dry season, that is when the places are accessible, the bushes are not thick, and the surveyors will start putting it into practice. And I will be one of those to also have a place there so that I move together with the people towards that, what I call revolution within the state.
How are we seeing Meridi, few years from now? How are we going to look at Meridi?
To begin with, we are now working on what we call Vision 2025. Yes. We're working on that, and because we created a directorate for planning and research right within my office, within the secretariat, and that is also working in partnership with the other ministries. So we are developing what we call Meridi Vision 2025. It's a 10 years plan, because people tend to develop 5 years plan. I think 5 years plan are not realistic, because some of the projects involved are long-term projects. So the Vision 25, when it's out, that will be the yardstick that will be able to measure not only our failures, but also our success and our achievements. But I think that vision will be the roadmap as to where we want Meridi to go and the type of Meridi state we want to develop. There is a dictum that I've been preaching, and it has been picked by some of my ministers. We tend to say we want to do more with less. Okay. We want to do more with less. That means the end result, the end state, the output should be bigger than the input, than what we put. For example, we have been working on our roads, and we use the road construction equipment that we have, and we use our operational cost to buy fuel, and our operators within the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure are the ones operating, and we are moving on. We are doing more with less. So the type of Meridi we have, we want to see 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now will be determined by that document that we are developing, which we refer to as Vision 2025, and it will have a number of actionable projects in place, and also a number of objectives that we want to achieve. Although I know in the real world, events do not unfold through a series of discrete stages. So we're not going to say we will do A and then achieve B and then C and then D. It's a little bit messy, it's a little bit confusing, but we need to have a vision that guides us so that we do not lose the sight of the real thing. I think the geostrategic location of Meridi gives it a hope that Meridi will be what I will call a preferred destination among the other states. One, there's no way you can go to Bude without passing through Meridi. You cannot go to Wau or to Rumbek without passing through Meridi. Besides, we also we are bordered by Congo. Unfortunately, our border with Congo, from the Congolese part, it's a national park. So that in itself is an attraction. But you know also that Meridi State enjoys about 2 national parks that are within our territories. The population in Meridi 3 months ago started running to the towns and saying we have been invaded by elephants. And I said that's a good thing. Yes. What we need to do is to control these elephants so that we convert them into opportunities and to tourist interests. You know. So one of the objectives that we have within this Vision 2025 is to ensure that Meridi becomes what I will call an internal tourist destination. I will want to see that government officials, business people, NGO workers who are in the center in Juba, you know, when they are exhausted on a weekend, they should take refuge to Meridi and relax in the environment of Meridi that enjoys one of the best weather and climatic conditions we have, and also the sceneries and and beautiful cultures and so forth. So these are parts of the objectives that we have within that path, that journey that wants to take us to the Vision 2025 that we are developing at the moment.
As we're concluding, Governor, you happen to be one of the governors attended the seminar that was organized by the National Secretariat of the SPLM, the induction workshop or seminar. How important was that to you? And as you will be going back from Juba to your state, how will you start a new gear towards making SPLM to shine once again?
Well, I think to begin with, this induction workshop that we had with the SPLA had 2 components. The first component is the fact that we were sworn in. So legally, we are the chairpersons of the party at the state level. So that gives us instruments and tools and the legal basis for us to now operate freely. So that's one aspect of it, and I'm happy about that. Now that gives me the legal basis to now go and establish SPLM institutions in the whole state. Number 2, there is the induction workshop, which entails walking us through the constitution of the party, the manifesto of the party, all the basic documents of the party. So that is very important, so that when we go back to the state as leaders of the party, we should be speaking not only one and unified language, but we should be speaking something that we think we know. So I think the induction workshop was very useful. We were able to learn a lot. And one of my arguments is that we have spent a number of years constructing a party called SPLM. But I think at this moment in time, we should move to another level, which is party consolidation and party management. So we have learned a lot from that, and I think we are going to use some of the things we have learned, the tools we have learned, and translate them into practice.
Governor, we'll give you this platform to send your message to the people of South Sudan.
The message I will want to give to my brothers and sisters out there, to begin with, I want to join all the voices of thousands of South Sudanese who are yearning for peace, yes, love, and unity in this country. I want to insist that that is something that all of us should be working towards. So I want to join those thousands of South Sudanese who are yearning for peace and security and progress and unity and love. Number 2, the message I want to give to all the leaders of South Sudan at different levels is that the challenges that we're going through in this country today, whether it's insecurity or the economic hurdles, I think it is our collective responsibility to see to it that we take this country to a new level, which is peaceful, which is progressive, which is developmental, as I may call it, and also united. So it's a collective responsibility. It's insecurity in Meridi State. It's not just my responsibility. It's the responsibility of everybody. Yes. insecurity in Yei River State is not just the responsibility of Honorable Governor of Yei River State. It's our responsibility. Insecurity in Jonglei State, it's our collective responsibility. So we need to take that collective responsibility seriously so that we're able to work collectively towards peace. But I want to caution also the people of South Sudan, particularly the young men and women who are out there. I know it's difficult. I know the young men today are not just angry because they have got nothing to look to and for because of the economic hardship. But I think I want to say that, number one, let us become ambassadors of unity, peace, and love. Let us desist from preaching divisive messages to our people. Yes, we all belong to areas, we belong to tribes and so forth. These are the strengths that God gave us. These are the diversities that God gave us. We should rather use them to move this country forward other than dividing our people. So my advice particularly to the young men, because I've seen the social media is full of energy and accusations and divisive messages and so forth, coming from majority of them from the young men and women. I want to tell our brothers and sisters and the young men and women that this is a dividing line. We either choose to be a part of the future or a part of the present challenges. But I believe that we should all opt for the part of the future, and we should use the social media to move this country forward rather than dividing this country. Because in the future, there's going to be accountability. What we write on the internet, what we write on the social media, it's there to stay. And we will be held accountable for what we say and for what we preach within the social media. So let us use those energies and those strengths to rather become innovative. We should rather become creative so that we are able to bring something new, in the name of this country that will be able to sell out there to the other countries that, you know what, this is the brainchild of South Sudanese. So this is the message that I will give. But other than that, I will continue to yearn for peace, unity, and love for this country.
With that, viewers of SSBC, that has finally brought us to the end of this exclusive interview of the Roundtable Show. But remember, let's become ambassadors for peace, unity, and let's love each other. The most important thing is let us take away the hatreds among ourselves and live for the betterment of South Sudan. Governor, it has been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.